What is good, everybody? Welcome back into the Bluebloods, man, official podcast of FCS Football Central on SI. Your host, Zach McKinnell, my guy, Coach Fred, getting him another cup of coffee, man, waking up for this early morning show here. Not really early morning, it's more like lunchtime now, man, but we appreciate y'all tuning in. We got a lot to talk about. Told y'all we're going to be more consistent. Of course, I say that, and then the next weekend's 4th of July, then Coach is traveling. But we did get back to y'all pretty relatively quickly from what we have been. But Coach, man, SWAC Media Day in the books, MEAC Media Day on the horizon. The inaugural Black College football poll has been released. We're going to discuss that today. And then, Coach, the last topic, and I always want to end the show with more of like a debate, kind of breaking down these teams a little bit further, is the question that I keep hearing is who should really be the number one team in HBCU football? And the way I wanted to frame it, Coach, is we keep seeing these polls come out, whether it's the Black College football poll, whether it's Dr. Cavill's poll, whether it's Stan Beckton putting out his ballot. Everyone's got a poll nowadays. And I've seen a lot of outrage for certain teams being number one. So I really want to discuss, Coach, also on top of that is how many teams have a realistic argument to be number one? How many teams, like if you make the good argument, sound argument, you look at all the data, Coach, how many teams could be number one? So, man, we will talk about that at the end of the show. But, Coach, how was your SWAC Media Day, man? How you feeling?
Man, SWAC Media Day was awesome. Got to see a lot of people. Shout out to the guys that were looking for you in particular. Yeah, they stopped me. Hey, man, where's your guy, man? Where's your co-host? He comments like, nah, he's hung up. He's not going to make it. So I don't know if they were really excited to see me or they were just, looking for you kind of thing. But overall, man, it was a great scene, great participation. It's probably, I want to say, out of the 3 years that I've been going, this might have been the largest crowd. So I think that's a good thing. It's continuing to grow. And then they had some things for the kids. So, again, I think it was a pretty good little deal. I call it a success.
It's interesting because I talking to some of the media that went, like they said that there was more media presence there this year than any other year that they've been. And I think that's really a testament, man, because there was a lot of talk, after that 2022 year, like if that was going to be the last media day that was packed out. And I do think there are some outlets that probably moved on, right, or have less interest in the swag now. But like, man, I really do think it's impressive that like the conference has sustained that growth and that media coverage, man. I think it speaks to the quality of coach, like the quality of the product on the field. And obviously, I hate that I couldn't be there, man. I definitely had a little bit of like FOMO, man. Like I got this, I see you there posting content. Everyone posted content. You texted me that who's asking if I was there. So I'll be back next year. Can't wait for that. But what I'm gonna try to do on this side is, since I wasn't there, have more of the SWAC coaches on the show, just on the coaches corner. Similar, we already had Tremaine on earlier this offseason,
Shout out
reaching
to him.
reaching out to Mickey Joseph, TC Taylor, Eddie Robinson Jr., Cedric Thomas over at Alcorn, get some of those top coaches and have them on the show so we can make up that content a little bit. But, Coach, you were there. So I guess I can ask you first. The poll, the preseason predicted order of finish drops. We'll start in the West here. Prairie View, obviously, the pretty much almost nearly the consensus favorite to win the conference. 19 first place votes, followed by Grambling with 2 first place votes, 93 total points. Alcorn, Texas Southern in that order, all receiving 1 first place vote. Arkansas Pine Bluff in the final spot there with 32 total points. Coach, any surprises here? Anything that immediately sticks out that you would change?
I thought, I seen an initial poll. I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was a poll that actually had Texas Southern a little bit higher than where they are. And I think after going back and kind of looking at what they did and some of the pieces that they brought back and some of the pieces that they added, I'm kind of surprised that they are ahead of Grambling. And that's not any shot or disrespect to Grambling, but I think they bring, Coach Dishman brings back some pieces. The only thing about it is Coach Dishman is really, really quiet, and we've talked about this in the past. You don't hear a lot from that program. So I was expecting to see them maybe in the 2 or the 3 spot. So that kind of stuck out to me, just because I thought they had a chance to be a little bit higher. But you know, number one, you know how I feel about that. You're number one until somebody beats you.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I guess Grambling really did make a run last year and kind of fell on some things, fell on some hard times later in the season. Um, but you know, that 2-3 spot, I think it could go either way. So that would have been my biggest surprise right there to see Texas Southern as low as they are.
I just, for me with Texas Southern, okay, do they have the surrounding pieces to potentially be a dark horse? I'd probably concede that point. My only concern, man, is quarterback. Like, I know they got a kid that has a lot of experience. What, he's started games at Jackson, he started games at
Yeah,
Southern, but he hasn't looked great in any of those starts. And like,
that's
and
true.
I've talked
That's
about
fair.
this on a few. I've talked about this on a few other shows, and I'm not disrespecting the kid, but if we're going to critically evaluate the game, we have to do that, right?
Yeah.
He only completed like 40% of his passes last year. I, Coach, that's not going to get it done in today's age of college football. He's a freak athlete. The kid can, if he gets some open grass, Coach, good luck, man. That thing's to the house. And
That's fair.
my concern is, I look at that Texas Southern offense, Coach. That's not the type of offense that Dishman and that staff likes to run. How many are they getting him out in space? Are they letting him use his legs? Because I think the kid last year, he was an athlete in terms of, I think he can move in the pocket, get loose when he needed to, but he's not the type of athlete that McCoy is, the KJ
And
Cooper
that's
kid
fair.
last year.
Yeah,
And
and that's
that's
fair.
my concern is, and I also think with that Jackson team, if look back at that Jackson State team that he got to start with, Coach, if you can't make it work with that team, does Texas Southern have better pieces and better surrounding talent than that Jackson team we started with 2 years ago?
No, but you know, fresh surroundings. I've got to believe that Coach Dishman and his staff is going to play to his strong point. I just got to believe that if you have an Eric Crouch, you know that you've got to do what Eric Crouch can do, right? I got
Yeah.
to believe that if you have a Charlie Ward, you've got to put something in play that Charlie Ward can do at a high level. So I just got to believe that part of it. But I get what you're saying. I mean, that's a fair assessment. Ain't no doubt about it. 40% ain't getting it anywhere.
No. And I think Texas Southern's been slept on in this regard, Coach. They always get voted like fifth, sixth. This year they're fourth in the division. They did finish second in the division last year. Like they win six-ish games. It feels like every year with Dishman. I do think what hurts them, Coach, and I've talked about this with Timothy. We're doing conference previews right now, and you look, there's teams that we're predicting to win 2, 3, 4 games, Coach, but they're way better than that. They just happen to play in a conference with
That's really
South
tough.
Dakota State and Illinois
Yeah.
State, or if you're in the Big Sky, you got to go through Montana State, UC Davis. How unfortunate is it that Texas Southern is finding a little bit of success on the field, and then PV goes and hires Tremaine Jackson, and I really do, like, that hurts, right? Because at Alcorn, let's just say you go 7-5, right, Coach? Well, 7-5, second in the division, might be tolerable when Jackson's not winning the East and winning SWAC championships, right? You never want to see your in-state rival program be way up here and you be right behind them in the middle of the pack. And I think that's what hurts the perception of what Dishman's done at Texas Southern is across the road, man. They're out here. They just won the SWAC championship year one.
Yeah. And remember now, Texas Southern really gift wrapped it. I mean, they really gift wrapped that game.
Oh yeah,
To PV.
people forget that it was a 1 point game winning touchdown. What a throw, by the way. Like, looking back now,
Yeah.
how important was that game, especially with how the season went on. Like, that game was so crucial.
And they gave them what, 14 points, special teams off of
Yes.
fumbled punts, punt returns. So yeah, that's gonna put a little salt in the wound. The fact that you had them beat, and then they go on to win a championship, and it's almost like they are headed here, and you're just kind of like here. Not that you're here, but you're just kind of here, but they're above you. So you make a great point with that. Like, yeah, finishing second ain't bad, but finishing second to those guys, that might be a little worse than
Yeah.
finishing second
It,
to, say, Southern or somebody like that.
the two teams that were only separated by 3 total points was Grambling and Alcorn. And I think there's two very interesting teams, right? Because, and obviously, I'm glad that you can kind of talk about this, Coach, because now you're at Valley, so you can be a little bit more open about this Alcorn team. And I look back at last year, Coach, and I had a conversation on PV versus everybody when they had me on last week. I really do think, and this sounds weird, Coach, and I know they finished third in this predicted order of finish. I still think Alcorn's being a little bit overlooked this preseason. And here's why. Coach, I look back at y'all's losses, FCS losses, right? Throw the Mississippi State game out. Every single loss was by 10 or less points. And I look back at that PV game. I mean, the play calling on that last drive killed any momentum. And then you guys end the season on what, like winning 5 out of the last 6 or something like that? I mean, y'all were on a run. And then the reverse call with Jackson and the kid tossing the ball the wrong direction, the penalty calling it back. I mean, there was a legit chance, Coach, that if you change 5 plays from last season, Alcorn wins 2 or 3 more games. Northwestern State, me and you came on here and talked about it. When Jalen Tolbert signed the papers, I don't think he expected to throw 48 passes against Northwestern State week 1. And so I really think if Alcorn, if Jalen Tolbert can take another step forward as a signal caller at Alcorn, Coach, I like what they have coming back on the offensive line. I trust said to at least get the defense competitive, right? I don't know if it'll be great this year. I still want to see that interior D-line really prove itself. I think they need a bona fide edge rusher. I really thought y'all missed Malachi last year in terms of a guy who could just go get the quarterback. If they can do those things, man, I think Alcorn could be right in this race. And I do think they might be getting overshadowed just a bit because you hear a lot about Southern with Marshall Faulk. You hear a lot about Texas Southern being the dark horse. You hear a lot about Grambling and Mickey Joseph and that team finally being back. And obviously we know what PV is. I think Alcorn's getting a little bit overlooked this preseason, in my opinion, Coach.
And I think, looking back on that season, and we got to clip this and put this on as a short, all right? And kind of getting a little off subject. So I went to this officials deal with the conference officials, and I still need to know, right? Every scoring play is reviewed, right? Yeah. So if you remember that play, there was no flag on the refs didn't throw a flag. It got called back from the booth, right? So my thing is, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask the chat, same exact thing happens. You score a touchdown, and then the review, just to make sure it was a scoring play, cross the line, still had the ball kind of thing. And there's a hands to the face by an offensive lineman. Can the booth overturn that touchdougn?
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. So anyway, that's a whole other story. I guess I just had to relive that moment. But Tolbert is a proven guy. He's done it in the MEAC. I think once he got through some things last year, he took his game to another level, which in turn took the offense to another level. So I think he can do enough on that side of the ball. That's the schedule's going to be really tough because you do have to go to Grambling, and that's that team that you are right there with. And you have to go to Texas Southern. No, you have to go to PV. So, those are 2 tough games. And the depth part right now, Coach Watson's got some stuff that he's got to do. And that's one of them deals of where he's got to develop some pieces because they do have some really good pieces up front. A lot of guys. But who's behind those guys in case of emergency? And I think that goes to what you said about the defensive line. So overshadowed, I think, overlooked. I wouldn't call it that because they're in third.
Right.
Preseason.
I'm more talking about like media coverage. Like when people talk about dark horses in the West. Like, because I think, because me and Timothy talk about this all the time with our conference previews, Coach. Dark horses range by conferences, right? One
Yeah.
conference, it has to be a team outside the top 5 because all the top 5 teams are top 25 FCS teams. But I think with how dominant PV was and how Coach, their pick so consistently, I really think anybody else winning the West next year would be a dark horse story, in my opinion. From Grambling to Alcorn to Texas Southern to UAPB, if anyone else wins the West next year, Coach, it's an upset, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way. Even with Grambling finishing second in the predicted order of finish, Coach, that would be a dark horse story, in my opinion. Because to me, the dark horse meter, I guess if we're measuring dark horses, is set by the team who's at number 1. Because like when North Dakota State was winning 6 in a row, Coach, if any other team in the FCS won the national championship, it was a dark horse story.
A dark horse, Cinderella, all that.
Exactly. Number 2 team in the country preseason, dark horse. Like you guys knocked off.
Story, you know what I mean? They knocked off number 1. So yeah, I see your point. But I think so they would be the dark horse, and I think we would call Texas Southern the Cinderella story if they pulled it off, right?
Yeah, and we had a question here. I mean, I guess this kind of talks because obviously Andrew Body preseason offensive player of the year, Coach. That was a given.
Foregone conclusion. Yep.
Defensive player of the year, Cam Salas from Jackson. I don't mind the pick. I think the kid's the best, probably safety, but because to me he's so good in the box, Coach. I think that's what separates him from a lot of SWAC defensive backs is how physical he is, man. That kid's a linebacker that can also drop into coverage and really thrive. I really like Salas and I like his potential. But the good question here from Charles Martin: if Ashton Taylor had stayed at Jackson and not transferred, would Cam have still been defensive player of the year? I personally think if Ashton Taylor would have came back, he probably would have been SWAC defensive player of the year. I think he had a better. We know what SWAC voters like, and this is the SIDs and coaches' stats. They would have voted Ashton Taylor preseason defensive player of the year, in my opinion. I still think let me preface my opinion. I think Cam Salas is a better player though, but I do think that Ashton Taylor would have won it.
Yeah, because the numbers alone. Like you said, numbers alone, I think it puts him in the race and it makes it probably a little tougher. I don't know who would have been in the number 2 spot, but had he stayed, I think the numbers, speak for themselves, so to speak, in that situation.
Okay, so I got a little insight here, Coach. Again, you know me and my complaints. So this is just a small rant, and we'll move on. I did talk to someone who voted for this, one of the SIDs. In my opinion, Coach, coming into the year, looking at all the players, Cam Salas and Eric Zachary were my 2 picks for preseason defensive player of the year. Either one of those guys I'm cool with. Anybody else, I would have thrown a fit. Eric Zachary has been the best SWAC corner for like 2 years now. The kid at PV.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid's a freak, man. Listen, our preseason All-American team comes out Monday.
How many picks did he have last year?
I think he had 2, but he had a ton of pass breakups too.
Yeah, but he was like top 5 with PBUs or something like that, right?
He was the 2nd highest graded corner in the FCS last year.
Yeah.
And like shutdown type guy. And here's my issue. I got texted from someone who voted. He wasn't even an option to pick, Coach.
Why? I wonder.
Because he plays corner. And people who put these lists together don't understand how to evaluate corners, apparently.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to what we talked about, and that we can make.
You've been a corner, Coach. You've coached corners before.
It's a
you get it.
Difference. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like one of those deals of where an offensive lineman is never going to be player of the week, even though you had a running back
in every conference but the Missouri Valley, because the Missouri Valley has given offensive lineman player of the week.
Yeah, which is insane. But that's kind of one of those deals where those type of awards don't come to certain positions, and I think that's unless you're that guy and then you do something else special teams wise as well.
Yeah,
Every pick
Rasheed
you
Mathis.
touch, yeah, every pick you touch
Yeah.
goes back the other way.
Like, and that's what I was talking to on the other show, PV versus everybody, about why I think Eric Zachary wasn't recognized. Coach, I look back at the history, right? Justin Ford at Montana had like 9 picks, had 2 pick 6s, and those 9 picks came in 8 straight games, Coach. He had 8 straight games with an interception, at least one,
Balling.
and he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year
Yeah, balling.
of his conference. He won even like, and obviously he didn't win the
Balling.
Buck Buchanan. And there's a reason the only corner to win the Buck Buchanan is Rasheed Mathis. And me and Coach can tell you those stats are like he looks like if you fired up CFB 27, played on freshmen,
Yeah.
and just got thrown. I mean, what do he have? Like 14 interceptions and like 500 interception return yards.
And I think out of that, what he was close to almost double-digit touchdowns or something like that. I mean, it was
Yeah.
almost like anytime he touches it or it comes in his area, you know, it was
It's just
something
stupid.
insane, something
Yeah,
we
so
probably never
that's what
see
you have to
again.
do. That's what you have to do to win Defensive Player of the Year as a corner. But Coach, I don't know if you saw the last thing we're going to move to the East. I think we should give a congratulations to Southern, man. They finally get to play in the Magic City Classic this year. I guess they're replacing Alabama A&M this year. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Marshall Faulk said he's excited to play in the inaugural Magic City Classic this year against Alabama State in Week 0.
I don't think that's what it's called, is it?
No, obviously not. Brandon, it cracked me up so much, man.
I don't think that's what it's called, is it? But yeah,
Man,
okay. It is.
and you know, bro, you know how it is in the SWAC too. It's an honest mistake, and it is not that big of a deal. But you got to get the jokes, and like,
Oh, ain't
man,
no doubt.
Oh my lord,
And I'm sure as
it.
soon as you said it, I'm sure the Southern fan base was like,
Yeah. And you know the SID was sitting there, the communications director, just
oh, ain't no
hands
doubt.
it like,
Cringing.
yeah, it's tough.
Cringing.
Like someone said that he also called the Southern Jackson game the wrong name too. Like
Nah, come on, man. We got to
oh
cut him
yeah,
some.
he called the Boombox Classic the Soul Bowl.
We got to cut him some slack, man. It's
Yeah,
it's his first 30 days, man.
he called Jackson Southern the Soul Bowl. That's what the other thing was.
Hey, man, we got to cut him some slack, man. It's his first 30 days on the job, man. They didn't give him the handbook. You know what I'm talking about?
But Coach, let's go to the East real quick. Bama State actually gets the number 1 spot, 16 first place votes. Jackson in second gets 7 first place votes, 122 total points. Then you have Bethune, FAMU, Alabama A&M with a first place vote in 5th, and then Valley sitting there, 29 total points in the final spot. Coach, are you surprised the voters put Bama State over Jackson here in the East?
I'm not, but you know how I do it, right? Until you do beat the reigning Eastern champs, I don't think you top the reigning Eastern champs. It's not like they lost a lot. It's not like their roster was just depleted. They bring back a lot of guys. They bring back a quarterback with a lot of game experience, a ton of potential / talent. And I know what they have over there at Bama State. I get it. But I personally, if I had that vote, I don't make that vote. As much as it pains me, I would probably have to vote for the people up the street, right? Because they won it. Until someone beats you, you're still the people on the top. Now, I do feel a little slighted because if you go back and you look at the team that's in the last place, there were several games that they were in and that they should have won. So I think we could have got a little more respect out of that for that place. But I think right now if I'm feeling you and I know you, the next question is who am I surprised about? I'm surprised FAM is ranked as high.
It's high.
Yeah, as they are, just because of the off-field, the off-season, and the things that they've, had to deal with and are dealing with. I think that nod is just maybe off a track record. I get it, but again, it's just preseason, so
Yeah.
everybody still has to go out there on the grass and do it. But I would have just expected them to be a little bit farther down, just the kind of way things ended and the way things kind of went in the offseason.
I got to ask because you have intricate knowledge of Quinn Gray
My guy.
as a coach. It The question here has been from a lot of fans is Quinn Gray equipped to keep that team locked in, knowing that their ultimate goal is not in reach anymore, right? Because Quinn Gray was coming in, coach, bringing his quarterback who was a player of the year. Knowing Quinn from just talking to people who know him, he thought the fan was going to win the East this year. Like that's his expectation, right? When he took that job, year one, he thought he could compete. That's his confidence. But coach, do you think he's equipped with the, I guess, coaching ability to keep this team locked in, given that that was taken off the table now?
I think he is, and I think, and I don't know this is firsthand knowledge. I hadn't talked to him about it, but I think that he points back to um, the year that they had the ticker tape parade and the whole nine when they, called themselves the champs, and they
Oh,
actually didn't play.
In the MEAC when they
Ye-
were when they beat A&T goes and wins the Celebration Bowl, but
Yeah,
FAM claimed the championship because they were in that was Willie's like what first year?
yeah, first or second year, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
right? And I think they still play as if that is an option. As far as being able to play the spoiler, to be able to beat the uh, the Jacksons, the Alabama States, and just run the table. And then at the end of the year, be able to say, hey, uh, holding up the newspaper. I still don't know where they got that newspaper made at, but holding up the newspaper saying, we are the national champs or we are SWAC champs, yada, yada, yada. I definitely think he does have that ability to do that. And then plus, you know, that's his spot. That's his home. So I think there's going to be an extra layer added to it just because of the alumni pride that he has for FAMU. So I think he's going to be able to keep it in the middle of the road. It's just a matter of, how things start out early. Because if they get to cooking early, I can see it really, really rolling.
Oh, if they beat South Carolina State that first game,
Oh, it's on. It's
yeah,
on. It's
it's gonna
gonna
get
roll.
real interesting down the stretch.
Yeah.
I I'm gonna be on like and I'm actually the opposite of you, coach. And I know this is gonna sound crazy because I'm not super high on fam, but I just everything in my body that understands football feels like Bethune Cookman is gonna take a major step backwards this year. And again, we kind of talked about it last episode, Coach. I know it was a few weeks ago, but I think offensively they take a step back just because they lose so many pieces. And defensively, there's still so much turnover, but their defense was really not great last year. And
Right.
my question is like now that if you don't have that high powered offense with experience at quarterback to win some games where you just got to outscore people, coach, are they going to be able to win those close games? Because you remember at the start of why am I like Woody's coaching tenure, they lost a ton of close games and they were winning 2-3 games a year, but all those losses were by one score. Like you look back, they
Yep.
lost to Jackson by one score, Fan by one score. Like they were in all these games. I get so worried because I've seen, let's just go outside the HBCU space. I've seen teams like at Eastern Illinois, coach, 2-10, 3-9. They win 8 games one year because they win all those close games. Well, coach, they've went 3-9 the past 2 years, and they
Losing
just
those same
haven't.
games.
Yeah, yeah. So I just wonder, is Bethune Cookman here to stay, or was that just a flash in the pan? And they just got lucky when over the past few years they were unlucky on the other side of it. That's my concern. And for me, if I was voting, I would have had FAM third, Alabama A&M fourth, Bethune fifth. Because the one thing you could say, coach, Bama State, Jackson, FAM, and A&M, we know who the quarterback's going to be. Proven three proven FCS starters and a D2 player of the year who has the frame and the skill set to succeed in this conference. He looks just like every other successful quarterback that has been in this conference with his athleticism and his arm. We don't know that with Bethune. And I even think, man, look at the East, even Valley. Josh Brown is going to be the guy, proven guy that has won games in the SWAC. I mean, Coach, like, well, what are your thoughts on that? I think that's what gives me FAM and Alabama A&M over Bethune right now.
I mean, I'm with you on that because, you know, a trigger man gets you healthy real quick. Now, not having a trigger man gets
Get you
you
beat real quick,
so,
real
you know,
quick.
again, I don't. Again, like you said, we don't know who's coming in. We don't know who they've gotten. We don't know what the number 2 is. Is it the same person from last year? So if it's the same person from last year, you kind of give them a leg up because you at least say that's somebody that practices in the system every day. If it's someone new, we'll see what this offseason was about and how many reps he got. And I think they lost, if I'm not mistaken, I think they lost three starters up front as well.
Yep.
And that's always tough to replace because you know and I know you can have Tom Brady back there, but if you can't keep him standing, it does not matter. You know what I mean? So, and we all know what they like to do offensively as well. So it's going to be one of those situations of A, who's a trigger guy, and then B, who's actually protecting him.
You know, I want to move to the inaugural Black College football poll.
Let me
I've
pull
been
that up.
texted already, Coach. I told you what was going to happen.
Let me
I
pull
was
that
texted.
up.
Yep. I was texted about it and asked if I was a voter. Your boy is not a voter, so sorry, guys. Not a voter. I don't know who controls the votes. I don't know who votes or anything like that. But as you can see here, South Carolina State at number 1, Prairie View at number 2, Coach, Jackson at 3, Alabama State at 4, North Carolina Central at 5, Delaware State at 6, Grambling at 7, Bethune at 8, Texas Southern 9, FAMU at 10. First place votes, South Carolina got 36 of those. South Carolina State got 36 of those. PV got 2. Jackson got 4. Bama State gets 6 first place votes, Coach. The first 3 teams out were Alcorn, Howard, and Alabama A&M. So, Coach, your initial thoughts here. Did they get it right? How do you feel about it?
I think for the most part. But you know how I am, man. If we've gotten a head-to-head, which we do with 5 and 6, and this is, I get it. It's the first one. Nobody's played any ball. I still think that 5 and 6 needs to be swapped. I laugh at 8 because, like we just talked about, okay, cool. 8, 9, and 10. I'm just kind of okay, cool. I guess I'll go with whatever it is,
Ooh, I can tell we're gonna have a good conversation. And the watcher, it's not hosted on the SWAC website. I just pulled up the SWAC website. This was posted on the MEAC website. It's agreed upon with all the conferences. They also had a D2 poll. I just pulled up the SWAC website. It's not hosted on the SWAC website. That was just the first one I pulled up. All right,
Because then
Coach.
they also released their D2 poll as well. So
yeah,
all of that came out together.
I know you talked about head-to-head with North Carolina Central, Delaware State. And, I mean, I think you could go head-to-head. Like, Texas Southern's at 9. Alcorn's not even in the top 10. Alcorn beat Texas Southern by, like, 20 last year, right?
Yep.
I mean, so here's my question. In today's age of college football, with the portal, with all the turnover in the world, like, I mean, Coach, you're looking at a lot of these teams in the SWAC and MEAC, they're overturning probably – 60, 70% of their starting lineup on the average?
Easy. Yeah.
Should we even care who beat who last year? Like, how much of your preseason ballot? Because, Coach, if me and you were voting in 2003, I mean, that probably matters, right? Because we have a lot more continuity. The teams are very similar. We know exactly who's coming back. But in 2026, how much should your preseason ballot be weighed on what you did last year, what you did historically? And hang on, this is the last one, projections.
I get everything you're saying, but I'm going to counter that with your same argument. We don't know what the kid at FAM's going to do coming in as at quarterback. We know what he did last year in Division II.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going to do this year. But we do know that Delaware as a program beat Central as a program. There wasn't 100% white clean from top to bottom, right? So my thing is, I get what you're saying, but I can counter it with the same argument because, again, how did FAM end the year? Three-game losing streak, I think.
Really
something like
bad.
that, maybe?
And that,
Yeah.
I think that's why they're 10th, right? They're behind a bunch of teams that they lost to, right? But like, I don't know, because obviously I'm not a voter for this poll. I'm a voter in the national FCS poll, which is even harder, right, Coach? Because you only got 10 spots here. Man, 25 spots in
It's gonna be rough.
like 2026 is so hard, man. Like, I mean, Coach,
It's gonna be rough.
you know how much work me and Timothy put into like getting these rosters and understanding like who's coming in. But for me, it's a balance. Like, I think, yes, like, do you have to look at last year? Absolutely. That has to factor into your equation a little bit, right? Whatever your personal voting equation is. But at the same time, you have to take a few steps forward in projection, right? Because I look at a team, okay, let's just go to PV last year, Coach. How many people were like let's just say we all had an HBCU preseason poll. How many voters of that preseason poll would have said, yeah, they brought in 60 new pieces. We know what Tremaine Jackson did at D2. I just don't know if I could pick them to win the West last year. But if you would have taken a step back and seen how much continuity that team had, and on top of that too, Coach, looked at the talent of the incoming transfers. I think that gets so lost in this, where people are like, oh, we just got to see the transfers. No, like, you can do your research and project fairly accurately who's going to be good. Out the occasional bust or gem, right, Coach? On average, if me and you sat down, had all the SWAC teams transfer portal classes, if we sat down and did the research, watched the film, me and you could predict with fairly good accuracy how that player is going to move next year. The problem is, I think some voters are too lazy to do that. So you know what they do, Coach? They sit down and they say, 8-4. What was he last year? 5-7, 6-6, 3-9, and they just vote off of records from last year, and that aggravates me so much because you don't factor in new coordinators, you don't factor in offense, because I think, Coach, continuity in certain positions is more important too, and I factor that in as well. Coach, if I'm evaluating Fred University, Coach, you guys got a returning quarterback, 4 returning starting offensive linemen, both your interior defensive linemen, and your 2 starting corners. You might have less overall continuity than McKinnell University, but guess what, Coach? We got to replace our quarterback. We have 4 new starters on the offensive line, and we lose our best defensive lineman. That's a lot. That's 3. That's multiple less positions that we don't know who's coming back in. But guess what, Coach? It's way harder to replace offensive line, quarterback, and your best edge rusher than it is to replace a running back and your linebacker.
Oh, way harder, no doubt. Because those people are people that handle the rock from play to play, so to speak. Those are people that make sure that you can maneuver within your offense, so to speak, when we're talking about offensive line. I think to coattail what you're saying about the voters, I think they tend to look at the splash portal guys and who got the biggest. So Allen University just got a kid that was the #1 receiver.
Someone in the chat just posted it, Deion Smith.
Yeah,
so
that automatically, in some voters' minds, will put them atop of the SWAC, right? LSU, former #1 receiver in the country, winds up there. Oh yeah, they got to be #1. You know, not knowing they got me playing quarterback. Well, it shouldn't say me because me and him would do damage. Got my granddaughter playing quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of voters do that in the preseason. We tell our kids not to get too ramped up about that because it's simply preseason. Uh, you don't even get a certificate for it. So, accolades are nice. To be recognized is nice, but you don't put a lot of stock into it because it's preseason. And once week 0 kicks off, all that preseason stuff uh, is pushed to the side. This is just to get us to week 0. So I get what you're saying. I just know, and we were raised on this, Zach. Don't turn new age on me. If I beat you in 2025 and I have a fairly decent standing all the way through, when we get to 2026 rankings, I should be ahead of you because I beat you head to head. You know that. You know that. You know that. Don't do that. You know that.
Oh, I disagree though. Like, I wholeheartedly disagree at today's age of college football. Okay, let me ask you. Obviously, we're HBCU show, but there's not really a good example that I want to use here. But
we can use Jackson PV. Use Jackson PV. PV beat
I can't.
Jackson, right? So if we're
can't
talking
use
about a SWAC poll, PV should be ahead of Jackson.
That's fine. I'm cool with that argument. That's getting into our last topic too. But I'm more talking about, like, what about the top 4, the top 5 to me are fine. The top 4 for sure, right? South Carolina State, PV, Jackson, Bama State, Coach. Any order you have them, as long as those are your top 4 teams, I'm fine as long as you make an argument. But again, like D-Lob said, Coach, this is where I get to the problem of head-to-head, meaning more than anything is Bama State beat PV last year without Andrew Body.
True.
So does that mean Bama State got to be ahead of PV? Because then you tie yourself into like a discussion of now who's ahead. Because to me, tiebreakers should count. Oh my gosh, I'm with you on that. Like the better example, that's what I was trying to use, is Tennessee Tech, North Dakota. North Dakota beat Tennessee Tech in the playoffs last year. Coach, Tennessee Tech brought in the #1 transfer portal class this year. North Dakota's got some question marks. Just because they beat them in the playoffs means I got to rank North Dakota above Tennessee Tech going into 2026?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
They beat them, Zach. They don't know what they have in those transfers. Now, if you want to come back week 3 and it's a massive shuffle, then, yeah, that's understandable, right? And we've talked about that before. If it's one of those deals of where I start out, and you know how I am about #1, you're #1 until you get beat. But if I start out at 5 and team number 6 is winning games by 40, I'm winning games by 1.5, you can't question that jump. You can't question that jump.
Oh.
Right? So
I mean, this is a good point though, because different voters have so many, rationales on how they vote. I don't think any of them are wrong, right? Because you're valid in you saying you got to beat the champ to be the champ. And I think a voter who is, perfect word, educated projections, a voter who is smart, study the rosters and makes that projection, I think they also have a point too, Coach. Now, we'll see at the end of the year who was right, but year to year it could vary. So that's
and I'm
the
with
thing.
you. But I also believe in, and you may go left on me with this one too, but I also believe in this type of thing, this the preseason deal. I get it. It's for the fans. It's to create the momentum, the hype for the season. But a real poll shouldn't be out to me until week 3, week 4. Now we all know what it is on the table. Now, when you get that poll in week 3, now I know McKinnell University is either for real or a pretender. And now we throw it all together and we put educated projections from what we actually have in front of us together.
All right, I'm going to give you a nuanced answer to that. Logically, you're correct, because the biggest problem with preseason polls is that voters don't know how to vote. And I'm not taking a shot at anyone in particular. If I was taking a shot at someone, I'd put a name on it. But I'm talking about the FCS poll in particular, but it's going to happen with the HBCU poll too. Coach, what happens is we rank off of last season, right? This is what would always happen in the AP poll during the BCS era. We'd rank Tennessee freaking third, Coach. Well, if they sucked, Coach, it would take them 6 weeks to drop out of the top 25 because people only feel like you can drop so many spots a week, right? They'll never drop a team from 2 out the top 25 ever. And I think that gets to your problem is if we started the poll week 4, you wouldn't have this conversation of, man, can I drop a team from 2 to out the top 25? Because why? That is your first top 25. So that team wouldn't have started at 2. It's a lot easier to start them outside the top 25 than drop them from 2 to 25. And this is why me, and I'm speaking for myself, Sam Herder, and Timothy Rosario, because I know we're the 3 that do it. I'm going to drop my top 25 ballot, I think, next week. I think voting starts next week. So y'all will see my FCS top 25. If I have a team at 6, Coach, let's just say, I'm just going to, let's just say Kennesaw State was still FCS. I have Kennesaw State at 6. Coach, if Kennesaw State goes out there weeks 1, and let's just say they played Alcorn, and Alcorn beats them 45-0, I'll move Kennesaw State from 6 to out my top 25 the next week. I will allow massive movement in my top 25 till about week 4 or 5, like you said, because I don't want my preconceived preseason biases to influence what I'm seeing on the field. The problem here is me, Timothy, and Sam are only 3 of 57 voters in the FCS top 25. So what happens is, remember when we were covering the FCS weekly, Coach, it took how many weeks did it take Western Carolina to finally break into the top 25? Because voters had a preconceived preseason notion that they weren't a top 25 team. Coach, if we didn't start the ballot till week 5, Western Carolina probably would have been a top 10 team immediately at that point, right before they lost. But in UAlbany, remember I told you they were a sleeper. How long did it take UAlbany to break into the top 25? And it's because voters are too tied to their preseason opinions. And that's really the issue. It's not that we shouldn't have a poll this early. It's that voters don't know how to vote early in the season.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, all right? Or disagree with me, because I don't know if it's a right or wrong thing. But I feel like right now, the HBCU poll, there's going to be an issue because there's going to be program leniency, bias, lack of a better word, using those two, right?
Speak on it.
Because let's just be honest, if Coach Falk is able to get them off to a good start, they are immediately going to shoot up.
They'll be the top 5. If they go like 2-1,
they're going to immediately shoot up. Whereas my boss gets us off to a good start, and we're going to also be receiving votes. You know what I mean? As to where
maybe
as to where right now, if the school up the street gets off to a 1-3 start, they'll still be top 5. They'll still be top 5. And
well, maybe not this year. Maybe not this year because they play 2 D2s in their first 3. So if they lose to a D2,
I think. But I'm just
but if they play Tennessee State, Southeastern, and Alcorn the first 3 weeks and they went 1 and 2, they'd probably still be top.
Yeah, they wouldn't be out, right? They wouldn't be out.
And I think that's what they were saying in the chat is, and this is what Wild Wayne was saying. Shout out to Wild Wayne, man. Great show the other night, man. He said if Ohio State had him at quarterback, me at running back, and Coach Fred at kicker, they'd still be preseason top 25. Yeah, the fact that he didn't put you a wide receiver is a little bit disrespectful.
Kicker, man. But you wild for that.
Yeah, but Wayne's right? Ohio State's still going to be top 25. Just brand recognition alone. And can I throw one other thing at you? And I don't mean that, and I know someone's going to take this as disrespect. And I'm not the only one that feels like this. I think Zoe on Mr. Campbell's show, Sipping on Sundays, talked about it a little bit. And I felt like this for a while, Coach. I think 10 teams are too much.
Yeah, because
there's 21 D1 HBCUs. Is it 21, 22?
As I'm looking, because
including the independents, because the independents are eligible for this.
So that was going to be my other thing. Do you really include the Tennessee states? I mean, I get it. They are HBCU, but they don't play in either conference, right? The same with A&T, right?
Yep.
They don't play. So how are they going to be judged in this poll? Will they take away votes in this poll?
They should, because I got a lot to say here, and that maybe we'll save the last topic for another show, because this is going to stretch on for a minute. And Coach, you have, let's just say 21 D1 HBCUs. 10 of those get in the top 10. That's too much. That's too big of a percentage. Like someone said, it's almost 50% of D1 HBCUs are included in the poll.
Well,
and here's why. Here's why I think 10's not okay, Coach. Just look, the 10th place team in the preseason poll was 5-7 last year.
That was going to be my thing.
A 5-7 team should never have a number next to the name.
Yeah, that
ever.
was going to be my thing.
Because I think Zoe made a good point, and I feel the same way about it. Is getting ranked in the top 10, Coach, or getting ranked should feel like an accomplishment for your team, right? Maybe you don't win the championship, but Coach, in the postseason, you could say, man, like sitting in those team meetings, Coach, me and you were coaching Alcorn, right? Guys, we finished 8-4. I know we didn't make the SWAC championship, guys, but we're like the fourth best team in HBCU football. We built on this. We're going to build into next year. We're going to go from 4-1, right? You can talk about that. Coach, if me and you coach our team and we're 4-8, I swear to God, Coach, I will fire myself if I walk into a team meeting and say, guys, we're still a top 10 team in HBCU football. Man, I fire that person immediately.
So let me ask you this, and let me ask the chat. You tell me if they give us some answers on this. So the last topic, we know that's simple. The team that won it, that's who should be number one. Okay. But this poll, if 1 and 2, all right, 1 is a SWAC school, 2 is a MEAC school. Okay. We already know what the Celebration Bowl is, right? If the one SWAC school loses week 9 and the MEAC school jumps to number 1, stay with me now. Number 1. The number 2 SWAC school goes on and wins the SWAC championship and is headed to the Celebration Bowl, right? So I take hey man, we're gonna take what we can get and run.
No,
with
my
it.
side hurts, bro.
Dude,
I'll gotta say this. I've never met D-Lob in person. I don't think D-Lob is one of the funniest people in this space, bro. Like, I swear to God, man, that is great. Oh,
I get it.
Go ahead, Coach.
We're gonna take anything we can get and run, right? Take anything we can get and run.
Hang the banner.
Hey, we recruiting. So yeah, we're gonna use all that in recruiting. But the poll, I guess end all be all is what I'm saying is, okay, it's nice to have, you like it, we love it, but is it really gonna be used for, what is it gonna be used for, so to speak?
Okay, so here's the rumors, right? So there were 2 rumors, right? And one of them I kind of pitched out there was, I thought they were possibly gearing up for a playoff system. Well, John Grant
said that is not
pitched
happening.
over that idea. That ain't happening. And you know what was great, Coach? Remember how much criticism we got when we said it wasn't really feasible? We had that show where I kind of laid out some of the issues that were going to come up. John Grant named all those issues. So at least I wasn't tripping, right? People were like, man, everyone says we can't do it. I'm like, no, I'm telling you logistically it would be impossible right now with the way the schedule is. And John Grant said that. So, Coach, we can't have a playoff. Everyone's talking about a second bowl game, right?
For what? I would love it, no doubt.
No, I'm with you. One, is the fanfare gonna really be there for a bowl game that doesn't mean anything? Because let's just be honest, Coach, the Celebration Bowl is different because it's branded as kind of like the HBCU National Championship. and the attendance is there, and everyone and ABC's behind it putting money, are people really going to care the same if we have call it whatever you want, the Nike, HBCU Classic, whatever you want to name it. Are people going to be pumped up for the second place MEAC team and the loser of the SWAC championship game the same way?
Or the kids. That's where you're going to run into trouble with.
Is ABC going to put that on primetime, Coach?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough sell unless some things change, but we know those things aren't going to change like we talked about. Southern makes a heck of a run. They're slated to play in one of those playoff games that happens to be the same time as the Bayou. Now what?
But here's the other thing too, Coach. If we have a second bowl game, there's no guarantee. Like, look at the poll right now, right? Let's say the top 4 of this inaugural poll is what happens at the end of the year, and we have the second bowl game. You would get South Carolina State PV again in the Celebration Bowl. Just assume it. You would get Jackson Bama State again. Would the appetite be there for a second game?
Unless it was like it was this year. And then even then, it's a dice game.
Or what happens, Coach, when you if it's not because Jackson State, Bama State might get some hype with Andrew Body and how close that game was last year. But what happens when that game is, Bama State versus Delaware State?
Yeah.
Or something And where do you have it, right? Do you have it in Atlanta?
Where do you host it? Yeah, I said, where do you host it?
Maybe you use Georgia State Stadium, the smaller Atlanta stadium, but you can't do it a week earlier because the Celebration Bowl is the week after the SWAC championship. So when do you host it? Is it a Friday night game potentially?
Yeah, because we know how that scheduling has changed for that. And I get it. It's football. If you do it right, you could get the sponsorship money behind it, somebody to pick it up, I guess. Maybe you have it down, I don't know, the Junior Orange Bowl like they used to have a long time ago type thing.
And I do want to specify, just so me and you don't get clipped and called out as they were hating, Coach, the interest in other bowl games at the FBS level is waning.
Oh, yeah, because everybody's saying it's too many, right? And then they're adding another round to the playoffs. So
they're going to become even less important, right? Does anybody really care if you win the Best Buy Gasparilla Bowl?
Other than the kids who show up for the gift room?
No, they don't. And so my question, that's my question. I do think the fan base is right. If Jackson's ever in that game, if Southern's ever in that game, if FAM's in that game, those fan bases will support, right? But
y'all coming?
I just have my doubts, man. I just have my doubts.
Are y'all coming? Fan base, D-Lob, y'all gonna show up in Atlanta? Y'all going to roll and get to that second bowl game? So, yeah, it's
Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium,
in the middle of winter is insane.
And then you got the Meineke Car Care Bowl, and it's on a freaking Tuesday afternoon at 2:30.
What's the one down the street from your house there, Mobile? Is that still the GoDaddy?
It has a new name. It's the Capitalist Ventures 76 Bowl now or something like that.
Now,
remember they had the brawl. You remember they had the brawl the other year where they were stomping that kid out.
Yeah, after the game.
Which he deserved it. He deserved it, but the whole another conversation on that one.
So when I was in junior college, they used to have a bowl out in Iowa.
I forgot what it was called though, because one of the years on Last Chance U, they went
something Edge, and the venue hosted 2 bowl games, right? So at 11 a.m. you had 2 teams playing each other, and then once that game was over, hour and a half, 2 hours later, then you had another 2 teams playing each other. I think it was something the Edge, Dalton's Defenders Edge or something like that. I don't know if you can make that thing work like that to where, you can make it a huge party. I'm sure Atlanta would love to have the Celebration Bowl where you've got a South Carolina and a Jackson State. But leading up to that game, we all know that wouldn't work because the game time changed to 11, so you'd have to play that game at 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, because the thing would be John Grant would have to, because you're probably not getting the ABC slot at 7 p.m.
Yeah, where would you fit
That would
it?
be the issue.
Yeah, where would you fit it? But as a coach, as a former player, anytime you have an opportunity to make a bowl game, I mean, Hutchinson Community College, we lost our last game, knocked us out of Junior College Bowl national championship game, but we went to Corpus Christi. It's a great opportunity. It was a horrible bus ride, but it's a great opportunity. So you look at it as that, but football has changed so much from then to now to where I don't know if it ever becomes overload, not to me and you, but maybe to the casual fan that would tune in, it becomes football overload.
It's an interesting conversation about like what this poll really means, and also too, and someone brought this situation up, and let me just ask you: so FAM's ineligible, right?
Yep.
To go to the Celebration Bowl supposedly. What? Just looking at FAM's schedule, they played Bama State, they played Jackson, and they played South Carolina State. Coach, all this year. You remember what happened, Willie Simmons?
Yeah, we just
first
spoke
year.
on that. Yeah.
Does this poll lose, like, because, and I had an argument with some FAMU fans. I mean, not really an argument, but like we were just kind of going back and forth about it. If FAM beats those three teams, and let's just say Bama Jackson win the Celebration Bowl, is there a situation where FAM finishes first in this poll and is the HBCU national champion? And does that make the poll kind of meaning like at the end of the day, like who's really the champion?
Well, I think it goes back to like Georgia Tech and Washington that year, where one had one poll at number one and one had the other poll at number one, and they both hung national champions in their deal. Is Box to Row still going to be around?
Yeah, I think so. I would imagine. Okay, so I think they will still have it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Box to Row guys voted in this. The only people I think I know for a fact vote in this are the guys that run the Black College Sports Network, like the Dr. Cavilles, the Brian Fulfords. Like I think all those guys are in this. By the way, now there's 50. There's 50 something voters, and listen, Dr. Cavill deserves to vote, and like I get, but like I don't. Yeah, I don't know how many people from that network vote in it, but I do know a few of those guys are the voters. Those are the only people that I think I'm pretty sure vote in it. Obviously, the coaches vote in it, but I also think, too, it's probably hard. Here's what I don't know, Coach. Are there two voter sets, right? Because how many people cover D1 HBCU football but don't cover D2? So you probably can't have those people vote in the D2 poll. And vice versa, right? How many guys cover D2 HBCU football but don't cover D1 closely? Are there two voting panels for each poll? Or did they just pick voters that cover both? Because if that's the case, that really shrinks your voter pool in terms of guys who cover both really good at a national level.
And that's the thing, who cover it really good. Like, there's only so many, right? Dr. Cavill, I know you're watching, man. Come on, talk to us at one of these shows about this. But because then you run the risk of, lack of a better way to put it, watered down coverage. Kind of like we always talk about the FCS national championship, poll, top 25. Then you run the risk of not the coach, but someone in the front office making the votes who don't know anything about it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because if I finish number one in Box to Row and then I finish 2 in the HBCU deal, where are we at in all of that? If those two things still intertwine, however you want to put it.
You know what's going to happen. They're both going to claim it, and man, social media is going to be so fun for
we're
like
gonna fight every day.
3 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to fight every day for at least 3 weeks.
Because then a few teams claimed the 2021 one. Which, if you remember, so FAM beat South Carolina State, lost to Jackson. Jackson goes to the Celebration Bowl, loses to South Carolina State, and FAM went to the playoffs and lost to Southeastern. Now, I think FAM claimed that championship.
Yes.
Now, obviously, South Carolina State claimed it. And then I think there was another poll that had Jackson as the HBCU national champions that year, too.
Was that Deion's second year?
The first year.
First year.
The first year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, no, well, second year, because the spring was as really as the first full year.
First,
first full season.
First
but yeah,
Bowl. Yeah.
So you have, and then on top of that too, I am glad they split the polls up, because my problem is, and listen, I wasn't around, right, like in 1975, but like the thing is too is like there's a lot of years where I feel like there's a lot of HBCU teams that should go back and rewrite some history. And what I mean by that, Coach, is you look back and like D2 teams were winning HBCU national titles, and it's like, are you really telling me the D2 team was better than any D1 team that year?
Hey,
That, Coach, just imagine. Okay, putting your shoes, like you're a Florida State guy. Imagine taking a national championship away from Bobby Bowden because some voter voted an FCS school as a national champion.
That'd be pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. And also too, and I think Jackson, FAMU, and I want to say Grambling fans have spoken about this at length, Coach. And I know me and you weren't really around for that. Is back in the older days when these polls determined the national champions, a lot of the polls had like an East Coast bias or this bias, and you had a Jackson team who finished maybe 9-1, Coach, with like WC Gordon, and they're not even in the conversation to win.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard those stories. We've heard those stories, definitely.
Yeah, it's so my only concern is like whoever the voters are, man, we've really got to like realize that like maybe your vote, right, it's just a poll, right? And that's what people will tell you. But at the end of the day, Coach, when the future of media pushes forward, right, and we're sitting here in 2100, over 100 years from now, the people on whatever platform it is are going to be talking about this team won the national championship, and that meaningless poll that everyone thinks just for social media clicks becomes like actual history that people are using against to talk about the game. And so it is more important than that. And I hate when people just factor, like these preseason polls are for clicks, right? But the postseason ones are for actual history, man. Like they do mean something at the end of the day, and it means something on the recruiting trail and whatever it may be in terms of program prestige. And I just think people like don't take it seriously enough, and sometimes.
And that we're going to get farther and farther away from that. Just because of where we are right now in the state of college athletics, not just football, with the transfers out, with the transfers in, those banners are going to become less and less more important to programs because it's not going to really matter, right? Because the kids that see it are only going to see it for 6 months and then they're gone. So it's just, one of those deals, man.
T Black said he's going to retroactively claim that 2013 championship for Southern, man. But hang the banner. Coach, the last topic here. I think I know your answer to this. So maybe it'll be a longer and you can just respond to me. Is South Carolina State the only team you think has an argument to be the preseason #1 team in HBCU football?
Absolutely.
Got to beat them to replace them, right?
Hey. They didn't lose their head coach. They didn't lose that blueprint tradition that he has. And they won it, As Ric Flair told us years ago, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now they're the man. So you know how I stand on that one. So that's where I'm at with that.
Let me throw an alternative viewpoint at you. And you let me know if I'm tripping. The reason I brought this topic is because there was so much outrage at a handful of the polls. Because I've seen 4 teams get #1 votes, Coach. South Carolina State, obviously. PV, okay. Alabama State, and Jackson. Those are the 4 teams that I've seen get #1 votes or be #1 in whatever given poll ballot rankings that I've seen this preseason. I am of the opinion, Coach, if you have any of those 4 teams at number 1, I think it's fine. Anybody else? Oh, we're getting a little out there, and I think projection, like you've kind of overstepped the education-based projection thing. And I will say, shout out to my guy Stan Beck. I know we got a lot of shit for his poll, but North Carolina Central at 8, Stan, is disgusting, nasty work. 8, North Carolina Central at 8 in an HBCU top 10 behind Texas Southern, bro. What are we doing? Come on, man.
And I say this, and man, I got 2 days to really have a conversation and talk to Coach, the head coach over there at Alabama State. I would have a problem if they are if they're number 1.
Alabama State?
Yeah, simply because, the body of work, right? And that's kind of where I stand with it on the East projection. They didn't win it, and the team that won it brings back a good amount of players. So I don't know if we're going potential, what could have been, what was almost, which I know we are, but I don't calculate that as to being the end all be all to put them number 1. PV didn't beat them. So, I don't think you can put them above them as well.
Q Major, I would like you. I would like to hear your argument on PV, and to not have them in the top 2. I want to hear. I want to hear the argument for that, Coach, because I think PV if we're basing it off of you got to beat the champ to be the champ, then PV's got to be number 2.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm cool with that. I'm saying if they were number 1.
Okay, can I give you the argument? Okay, South Carolina State's argument is easy, right? They literally haven't lost a MEAC game in 2 years, 2 Celebration Bowls in a row. They win one of them. They lost to Jackson the first year. They returned more continuity defensively than they have the previous few years. Got a good bit returning offensively. Obviously, quarterback's a question mark. The question marks here for them, though, Coach, and the reason that I could see someone arguing not put them number 1, new quarterback, a few new starting offensive linemen, and coordinator changes. Now, you can make the argument that KJ Black was an upgrade or whatever, and I think KJ is going to be fine. But, Coach, man, me and you really respect Coach O. And what he did, and I talked about this on the last episode, you can make an argument, quarterback question mark, some offensive line continuity, new coordinators. Is this the year that finally kind of catches up with Chinnis? And I think that's what I'm saying here is like, I'm with you. I would put South Carolina State at 1, but I don't think, like, people have all this outrage of someone not having them number 1. It's like they still have question marks. And so if you're projecting and you have a good argument for one of the other 3 teams, I think have a good argument, then I'm fine with that, man. As long as South Carolina State's somewhere in your top 2 or 3, like, that's cool. Like, you're just projecting, right? They're still going to be good, but I don't think they're the same team as last year. That's what I'm saying is, like, I'm fine with that. I think where you get into the debate is like, what's the argument for PV, Bama State, and Jackson? And I'd be curious, like, so I know you've already said there's no argument. So that's why, like, for me, I look like, let's start with PV. That's probably the most obvious one, right? Because they're probably number 2 and you're on your poll, right? If we're doing it based on your standards. Now look at PV. The argument here is they have more continuity this year than last year. They brought in, I think, a better transfer portal class than they had last year. And on top of that, too, just projecting, right? If you're watching film, doing the research, I think they upgraded at quarterback. Now, I know that sounds so crazy, Coach, because you know how good Peters was. And I know people are going to be like, we still got to see improvement on the field. Just turn on the film, man. The quarterback they have coming in is a better passer than Cam Peters, in my opinion. And I look at that offensive line, Coach. They have 6 guys that played over 400 snaps last year on the offensive line coming back. That's a check. They have one of the best corners in the SWAC coming back. It's like all they need is that quarterback, and they got staff continuity, Coach. That's the other thing. So, like, I'm cool with people saying PV wins the SWAC last year. They improved more continuity. They lost in, what, 4 overtimes? I'm cool if a voter says, I want PV1 South Carolina State 2. I think as long as you make that argument, then that's cool with me. Now, on the flip side, I get the people that say PV can't be won. You want to know why, Coach? They do got to replace a lot of talent in terms of the middle of their defensive line, linebacker, and the safeties. They got to replace all that middle part of the defense and quarterback question mark. I'm cool with that if you want to see the kid prove it because he is coming up from D2. Again, like that's what I'm trying to get here is like these polls in the preseason, there are different ways you can analyze it. You can go the Fred way and say defending champ got to be 1, defending SWAC champ got to be 2, and then the rest you do head-to-head and continuity, stuff like that. But if we're thinking outside the box and projecting, I have no problem with someone projecting PV winning the whole thing next year. I think the data's there. If you make it, but you know what I don't like, Coach? Voters who vote PV number 1 and say, "Oh, I just got a feeling." I can't respect that. I cannot respect voters who won't defend their arguments with facts and film and data because if you just say, "I got a feeling, I got a vibe," I can't rock with you on that. And now you're just out here BSing the people, acting like you know what you're talking about and you don't. And so, and I think that's important, Coach. And I wish we knew who the voters were for this poll because the one thing I don't get is you got people giving first place votes to all these different teams. Well, I need to hear those voters' rationale on it.
Definitely. Be able to stand on it. I can stand on the fact that I'm saying, hey, South Carolina State. Now, and I can go back and I can, debate you on you can see PV being number 1. Not only because, I feel like South Carolina State won it, they should be, but they won it in a head-to-head. Now, if they didn't win it in a head-to-head to PV, then I can understand, what you're saying with that piece. Which why, to me, there's no way Jackson can be that spot, if that makes sense. Because the champs are the champs. You didn't beat the number 2 team. So, again, if we're going to do projections, that's everybody in the country. Because you can go talk to, and I'll use Northwestern State, who's been down for a little while. You can go talk to them, and they can tell you how they, or give you an explanation, reasons, and players as to why they have an opportunity, right? Why they have a chance.
They don't.
But they can tell you that, right? So, at this point in time, I think, we've talked about it before, the polls are doing what they're doing because we're actually sitting here talking about it.
It's good offensive content, right? Because it also forces people to show what they know, right, in the media because everyone's talking about the poll. Coach, and I'm not calling anyone out in any given space. When the FCS Top 25 drops, every show is going to be doing a thing on it. You tune in, and if you can't defend the point and you can't give real information about these teams, and we know you didn't do your research on them. And I think like it's good to have these debates because I think it exposes like who really did the research this offseason and knows what they're talking about.
And nobody's going to put their name to it, right?
To answer D-Live's question, it is actually very uncommon not to disclose poll members. The FCS Top 25, at the end of every poll, if you scroll all the way down, they have every single voter listed by name and like what they're represented. The AP poll at the FBS level, every single voter has to release their full ballot every single year on the website. You can click through and see who every single voter voted for every single week of the year. The only polls that it's not common to disclose to poll members are the coaches' polls because you don't want to know which coaches are voting. Because for our coaches, it's a rotating thing. So if like Fred McNair at Alcorn was a voter one year, then the next year it could be TC Taylor. Then the next year it could be Mickey at Grambling. They don't disclose that because you don't want to know which coaches are voting. And that's why the coaches poll kind of sucks, but a whole nother rant on that one. But every other media poll, every single poll, it discloses who the voters are.
And then you remember now, a couple years ago, there was, I can't remember what coach, I shouldn't say a couple years, a few years ago, before the college football world changed. Back when Colorado was good, I can't remember the guy, but he went on a whole rant because people from the East never saw them play because they were West Coast. So I'm hoping that we don't run into this with the poll, meaning they're guys that only watch the MEAC and they paper stat search the SWAC and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, you do a heck of a job. Not everybody's going to sit there and be in the lab like you and actually go and watch, clip, do all that. It's going to be, Newhouser. I just figured out how to get the thing up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a deal of where you're going to get some voters that are, oh, okay, I see Valley won. They don't know how we won, but
They don't know who they played.
they're going to give us
Nothing.
a nod, right? But they could tell you how Delaware State lost to NCCU by 1 and should have won the game, and then they really don't get dropped even though they lost, right? So, hopefully it doesn't run into that MEAC SWAC bias. Well, they started their game on Eastern time, they started their game Central, whatever it may be.
You know what the more worried bias for me is, Coach? And we have a good bit of people watching right now. It's going to drop by about 20 viewers when I say these 3 words.
Well, hold on. Don't say that yet. Don't say that yet. Because here's the thing. I think with this poll, there's got to be more cross matchups.
Agreed. Yeah.
If we really want to get a real top 10, I think there's got to be more cross matchups. Now drop your bomb.
Yeah. The bias I'm worried about is strength of schedule.
Ooh.
You want to know why? I'm gonna I'm glad I'm not a voter because people would get mad at me if I was a voter. Because I have no problem. And Coach, you've seen my FCS top 25s, and I drop them every single week with a full explainer on every single team that needs explaining. I have no problem ranking a 5-2 team over, or let's just say a 5-3 team over a 6-1 team. No problem. 0.
I know why, but why they need to know why.
Listen, not the records. Overall record is not a good way to evaluate a team. It's just not. Like, bro, I mean, we are going to have teams, Coach, this year that if they win 10 games, they will only win 8 D1 games.
Yeah. We're in that boat.
Put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective. There are teams in this poll, we're strictly talking HBCU football, that only play like 71 games, man.
Yeah, that's tough.
Now, am I supposed to respect the team that finishes, let's just say, because I don't think this really impacts the top of the poll, Coach, because like you get into the debate of 10-1 versus 11-1 versus 9-3, like whatever. We could discuss that all day. I'm talking about if we're going to do a full top 10, Coach, are we going to have a team as the 6th best team in HBCU football who finished 7-4, but they had 4 D1 wins?
Nobody really uncovers that part of it.
Or is the 5-6 team better because they have 5 D1 wins and their 6 losses are to tough out-of-conference opponents, tough conference opponents, and they might have beat that team head-to-head? Are voters going to go that deep in it? And I don't think they are.
No, it'll be what it looks like on paper, because I don't think a lot of people go back and actually looked at, like you said, they played 10 games and 4 of them were D2. We've kind of taken some of that out of it going forward with the scheduling, deal that's kind of changed. So hopefully that helps with what we're talking about. But it's going to be still who finds a way to really go and find those type of games.
Well, let me ask you something, because I'm interested to see how one team's ranked, because they open up with 2 D2s in an FBS school. If they go 2-1, Coach, And let's just say on the flip side, we'll just use PV for example, right? Because we know what their schedule is. And let's say PV starts out 1-3, let's just say a close loss to Tarleton. They beat Texas Southern, they lose to Baylor, and they lose a close one to Stephen F. Austin. Is that 2-1 team with 2 D1 wins and an FBS loss going to be over PV?
The optics.
They shouldn't, right?
Shouldn't, but the optics.
Because guess what? The next week they play each other. Team number 1 was Grambling.
The optics. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm just asking.
Wholeheartedly. But you know and I know that that's how that's going to play out. If that happens, right? You know and I know.
It's just so disappointing, man. It's so disappointing.
It's what you open up the newspaper to. It ain't who, it's what's beside the name. 1-3, 4-1.
Hang on, timeout. And Mr. Greenwood, I respect you, love you, man. Appreciate you supporting the show. I don't care if Jackson State scores 100 on those 2 D2s. And the school I was talking about wasn't even Jackson. It was Grambling. If Grambling beats Central State 100-0, I really don't care.
The only time that matters, and me and my head coach went round and round about it, was that you put up 100, you're supposed to.
Right?
You lose, get him out of there. You know what I mean? So those games to me do nothing for you, so to speak.
No.
That's like, your axe to grind when you look up and you see that Lincoln, California, and my guy at Virginia Lynchburg.
Yeah,
Bro, you used to chap your ass when you saw that on schedules across, the conference. Those games,
it's a no-win situation, right?
Right, no win.
At the end of the day, okay, so Mr. Greenwell wanted to use Jackson. Coach, me and you are sitting here on this show. Me and you have both said Jackson is a legit contender to win the Celebration Bowl. They're in that top tier.
Yep.
A top tier D1 program should be beating every D2 by 50 to 60. Now, if you're a bottom tier team in the SWAC, then yeah, maybe that's a little bit more of a competitive game, because I do think the top of D2 is very it's the same tier structure across college football, right? Those top FBS programs, the top P4 programs. I mean, Ohio State should never be in a game with Miami of Ohio. But if Miami of Ohio played Kentucky, might be a little bit more of a competitive, that's probably a more competitive game, and it goes down like that through the ranks. Like if a Ferris State played a bottom tier FCS school, Ferris State might smack the FCS school. But if Ferris State's playing Montana State, coach, that shouldn't be surprising.
Right. And I get it. And I know from being former players, and I know from being around the business, I know from being as a coach, you have that tune-up game, so to speak, because everybody does it. When we talk about the money games, we're the tune-up game for those guys. When we're talking about the money game, wow.
Who do they play?
Hang on. The first game.
They play Morehouse week 1.
You still want those tune-up games. They better not get 100 hung on.
Oh, okay. I think he's talking about Missouri. They play Missouri week 2.
Okay.
Wait,
but you have those tune-up games. I get it. So when you have more than one of those tune-up games, because there's always somebody on your level that you can play, right?
Yeah.
For
sure.
Goes to as I said, the cross matchups.
And I don't even care if no one wants to play FCS out of conference games, but play some MEAC teams. Do what Jackson's doing. Play in Tennessee State. Play a Hampton. You know what I mean? There's other options here other than playing a ton of D. But regardless, listen, I don't want to get on the D2 FCS because that's been played out, and everyone's on their side. No one's going to change it, and it's fine. Yeah, I'm not changing my opinion. I'm
sorry. I'm looking. Like I said, I finally figured out how to get the screen right so that I
Are you
can see
talking
the
about this
comment.
comment?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, that's a. I was doing research on that game, Coach, and not to bring
Had,
up bad memories, but
hadn't been
I
very
mean,
good.
dude, do you know the last year that Valley beat Delta State?
No, I just know it hadn't been very good.
2002.
Hey, I remember Delta State almost, and they should have beat Prime in Jackson. I remember that.
Yeah, that
Right?
game was that game was super competitive that year.
Yeah,
I mean, they
yeah.
had that Delta State had that running back dude that was just, I
They
mean,
had a
God, he
corner
couldn't be
that
tackled.
I think that corner is still in the NFL. So
But
those
but
programs.
again, it goes back to the conversation we were talking about where Delta State's a tough D2 game because they're an annual top 25 team in the D2,
Yeah.
right? Like that's not. But the problem is, I don't think people are playing those games, right? Like FAM did play West Florida a few years ago, but Coach, there's a reason you don't see many teams, excuse me, schedule Valdosta State, schedule
Heck no.
Ferris, Grand Valley State. Coach, when's the last time someone played, Harding
Heck
out of
no.
Arkansas? Listen, there's a reason UAPB is not scheduling Harding as their D2 opponent because Harding would be
Better
a
not.
7-point favorite over UAPB.
Better not.
I don't, but to be fair, this is a year Valley should take advantage of Delta State. Now, they hired a really good head coach. Let me just throw that out there. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm sure you remember him, Coach, because I mean, you were in the business at this time. They hired David Dean. For people who don't remember, he was the guy who started the the Valdosta State dynasty, and then went to West Georgia and really built that program up into like what they could be to make the jump to the FCS program. So this is a guy that's won. I think he won. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. He won 2 national championships at Valdosta State in like the mid 2010s.
Yeah, he's kind of got that put it on the map. So it's one of those deals of where, you know, early on, we'll see. It's not like we are playing.
But D-Love is hilarious. He said if they beat us by 100, everyone else getting beat by 95. It's the same thing.
Same thing. So it's not like we're playing any Bishop Sycamores.
No.
Uh,
You,
and I'm
you know,
glad the commissioner kind of took that out. And now is when I'm saying we need to get those cross matchups. Before Coach McNair left, we were trying to work on a deal with meeting Morgan State somewhere. Those type of matchups, I think you could really turn into something that people would want to see and actually come out to.
we do have, I think I'm looking here at the schedule. We do have Central Texas Southern week 0. That'll be an interesting game. Central's going over to Texas Southern. I don't know where they're playing that game though. And you got Alabama A&M, Howard. You got Jackson, Tennessee State. Like those are some of these cross HBCU matchups that we need to be able to properly rank these schools. But then I don't know if we get many more. To be honest, I mean, you get South Carolina State, FAMU. We've already kind of talked about that one. That one's week 1. Orange Blossom Classic. I mean, Tennessee State, Alabama A&M. You get FAMU, Tennessee State. I think that's it, unless I'm blanking on one somewhere else. But I mean, that's really, I think, the only like cross HBCU matchups. But I also think we got some pretty good SWAC out of conference matchups too, Coach. Like, I know everyone's talking about PV schedule, but even Alcorn State going to play North Alabama. That's going to be a pretty interesting game to see where Alcorn is and where the SWAC is in terms of out of conference play as well. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the first game in that new stadium too.
I'm trying to pull that up because there was one other one that I thought was pretty interesting.
And someone asked, why isn't Texas Southern put out their schedule? I think it's because they're waiting on locations, right? Because they don't know where they're going to play their games this year. I know they're playing a few. Someone put in the chat they're playing at a local high school in Humble, Texas. And then the rest of them, I think the Southern game's been talked about moving to Houston, potentially, I think is what I saw. So I think Texas Southern's waiting to know where they're playing their games. So they had scheduling conflicts with the Dynamo or the soccer team or whatever it was. And South Carolina State, Bethune-Cookman again this year, someone put in the chat. So you got that cross game.
You got Valley, Nichols, week 0.
Yeah, that's another out of conference game that needs to be good.
Thought I'd put that out there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's any other like key out. Like, it was funny. Like, we were supposed to have Alabama State, South Carolina State, but Bama State pulled out to play Southern in a division game or non-division conference game. So you can do with that with what you will, I guess.
Edward Waters, Jackson State. I want to talk about that one.
I don't know, man. I just and to get back to the last one, because I do, as we get to the end of the show, I do want to argue. Like, I did see some people say that they don't think that Jackson or Bama State have an argument to be number one in any HBCU poll. And my argument against that is, and like I said earlier, man, if the voter can justify it by talking about what they brought in through the portal, then I can get it. And for Bama State, coach, you look, like, let's just list it out. They beat PV. They won 10 games. They got the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year coming back. They actually have the most returning significant contributors between PV, Jackson, and them. They return the most.
Yeah.
And on top of that too, I think they upgraded at receiver, which was a spot of concern. Offensive line has a ton of continuity. Like, I don't think that's a wild projection. Plus, they get PV and Jackson and Fam, their 3 toughest games, coach, all at home. The argument's there for Bama State to be one, in my opinion, if you're projecting like your stuff. And for Jackson, it's a little bit harder because I know people hate relying on new pieces, and Jackson's replacing a ton in the secondary and on the offensive line. But I really do, coach, you saw Lockhart play. If he takes a step forward, man, like, they have Rembert on the outside. For Tillian, they have probably the best tackle in HBCU football coming back in Quay Davis to anchor the offensive line. Their biggest question offensively, coach, might be running back. And, man, me and you have been on this show talking about, coach, it is the easiest position on the offense to replace is the running back spot. Because you can do it by committee. You don't need a 1,000-yard rusher every year, coach. But if you can get 2 or 3, 300 to 500-yard rushers,
same thing.
That's just the same thing. And Lockhart is dual threat enough to get some yards with his legs if he needs to. Linebacking core loaded for Jackson. The question for Jackson is they need that bona fide edge rusher. And what's the safety? What is the defensive back room going to look like? They also got the preseason SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. And on top of that, too, and this is something that I think is a negative for Bama State. If you want to argue Bama State can't be one because of proof of concept, I think that's also a valid argument, right? If you could justify it. We haven't seen them do it, coach. They haven't won the division, haven't won the SWAC. They haven't been to the Celebration Bowl. Valid argument. Now, on the flip side, I think the valid argument for Jackson is TC Taylor has proved he can bring in a big transfer portal class, and him and his staff have coach, 2-3 years now of nailing transfer portal evaluation. So if you want to say Jackson does have some continuity issues, but they brought in a really good transfer portal class, I'm trusting TC's evaluation because we've seen it for 3 years, and they have a returning quarterback, probably one of the best young quarterbacks in the FCS.
Yes.
I'm cool with that. That's what I'm saying, coach, and that's kind of what I want to make this last topic. There are 4 teams. If you just sit back and do your research, you can realistically make an argument could be preseason number 1. Whatever argument you want to take, right, coach? And we can disagree on who that should be. You say South Carolina State. I even say South Carolina State would be a number 1 in my poll. But I saw too many people see a poll with Jackson at 1, see a poll with Bama State at 1, see a poll with PV at number 1, and say, oh, man, this guy don't watch no film. This guy don't know what he's talking about. It's like, no, you just exposed yourself as someone who don't know what they're talking about, because if you sit back and watch the film, you can make an argument, right?
Yeah, for everybody.
Not everybody. Those
everybody.
4. Those 4.
Not everybody.
We're going to get a Texas
about.
Southern comment, and it was like, yeah, we
not everybody.
No, you can't.
Me and D got to sit this one out, right? But
yeah.
For the people we're talking about, it's one of those deals of where I think it's a valid deal, no doubt about it. If you're looking at it through clear lenses, if you're not looking at it through your fan base, if you're not looking at it through your alumni glasses, it's a however you want to shred it kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's preseason, right? Like, some voters, like, can we just be honest, coach? And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. Some voters are scared to stand on what they truly think. And I'm speaking from experience. I've talked to voters that aren't in the public sphere, like myself and Sam and you, where we got to come on here and talk about it, right? So we can't hide. Like, Coach, we've been on here for almost 2 hours, but we can't hide from what we really think. There are some voters who are writers, Coach, they can hide because they can just talk about the news. They don't have to really take a side. They can just straddle the fence and really just kind of act like they know what's going on. But they're scared to take a stand. They might think that X team is the best team in the SWAC, but Coach, they're too scared to stand on that. And because they don't want to come on here and defend it for an hour and 45 minutes and get the criticism.
I should say the blowback is scary to a lot of people, but if you have numbers to back up what you're seeing with your eye test, I think it's easy to talk about. Because I think too many get backed in a corner and then it just turns into an argument.
Yeah.
Oh, you saying my thing is wrong? Well, you got an ugly haircut. Like, wait a minute, what? What are we talking about? You know, so it's one of those things, man, where you look in the comments, you respond to the comments, or you don't look in the comments and you just stand on what it is that you believe in, your facts, and the whole nine. Because at the end of the day, again, I will always say at this point, and I wish I still had that, because years ago we did a deal where we went through every conference. And realistically, and some people aren't going to like it, realistically, if you have a conference of 8 people, there's only 3 that have a real chance.
Sometimes even less than that.
And then, you circle that one that somehow surprisingly catches all the luck, they catch every bounce. But you can go through every conference at every level, and there's usually 3 teams that have an opportunity. Everybody else is just trying to talk themselves into it. As a fan base, as a coaching staff, trying to talk themselves into it. But realistically, the numbers say X, Y, and Z.
I was asked this on Ken Clark's show. Ken brought me on to talk about the all SWAC teams, man. Shout out to Ken, man. Him and his dudes are grinding over there at KC 1400, man. And it's funny because me and Ken, like, we agree on a lot, Coach, but we disagree on a lot too. Me and him always kind of debate and talk about it. And what gets lost in this, Coach, is one, people have lost the spirit of debating football. And like you said, they go straight to the personal, and they feel like you can't be cool with somebody just because you disagree on sports. Like, bro, what are we doing here? And I think that's the thing is, like, bro, me and Ken disagree on the D2 schedule thing, right? But we both respect each other's opinion. I think we both have valid opinions, and that's why he can come on this show and I can go on his show, and we're cool with it, man. We just keep it pushing and talk about the other stuff. I also think the thing too, and he asked me like where I thought HBCU media was as a whole, Coach. And we could probably extend this to FCS too, and I kind of talked about this a little bit on his show, and I wanted to expound on it, is I think it's in a good spot and it's growing, and we get more content creators that are good at what they do, right, Coach? So me and you had a conversation beforehand about some content creators that people may feel a certain way about, man, but they grind out there. They do their content and they present it well, and they're entertaining, and everyone in this space has a lane, because you can't tune into me and tune into Wayne and tune into Timona and tune into G with Swacking a Fool. I mean, how many different takes can you get in those 4 shows, Coach? How many different approaches? How much information can you learn?
Bro, you talk about differences. It don't get any more different than just the names that you just called, right?
Yeah. And we all have a space in this space. And I think the thing that people kind of get confused too, and I was asked this the other day, it was like, what would be my advice to someone getting into media, Coach? And the number one thing, like just talking to people off camera, I think there's so many people that feel like they can't be cool with the coaches and the players that they pick against them, Coach. And I don't know if you get that feeling because you've been in the coach's seat where, Coach, if let's just take Alcorn, right? Coach, you've been my co-host on this show for what, like 3-4 years now?
Yep.
I've picked against Alcorn in front of you. And guess what? When I show up at Alcorn to do content with you and everything, bro, said don't hold that against me. Like said gets like what this is. It's like, man, you thought your opinion on the game, and I might give you shit about it if we win, right? And you picked against us, and that's fine. But like said isn't looking at me as like, man, I can't rock with Blue, man, because he picked against us when we play Texas Southern. Like, and I think there's too many people in the media that want to be like, think they want to be buddy buddy with the coaches and players, and they're scared to stand on like picking against their team or picking against a certain player because they're like, man, well, then when I go to SWAC Media, man, that guy might not rock with me. And talking to the coaches off camera because of you, man, and shout out to you for helping me get access and helping me build relationships where none of the coaches feel like that. They would respect you more if you stood on business and just really understood ball and made your picks and backed it up with data facts, man. As long as you ain't in the space disrespecting people, it's all going to be cool at the end of the day.
Definitely, and even for me, from my seat, you know, people have asked, how do I do it? Do coaches get mad at me? Whatever. I'm not using it as a recruiting tool. I don't use it as a poaching standpoint or whatever. We just give facts, right? We give numbers. And a lot of times, there's games that, we talk about as a whole that, some people may be like, man, I can't believe you talked about that game. We're talking football, right?
Yeah.
Coaches do it on their coaches show every week. I don't care about, my girl posting me in a position that she thought I was crying. That doesn't bother me. It's actually hilarious, right?
I was probably the first one to text you with the meme when it happened.
Yeah,
I was like, bro,
I had
coach,
no
I'm going to
idea.
use this. Bro, I have
Right.
it saved on my phone and I use it for everything. People who don't know you get that meme and they're like, where in the hell did you find this meme? And I'm like, you wouldn't understand.
Right. It was insane, right? But that didn't bother me. What's really cool is when you show up at media day and the coaches do recognize. Me and you talked about the SWAC championship game, and my guy called me up and was like, "Hey, hold on, man, you didn't look at it this way." And then we sit and we talk about it, and all is good.
Yeah.
As long as you're not being just completely in left field with what you're talking about, as long as you're not just being completely way away from the facts of what's happening, I don't think people find it offensive
No.
or have a problem. I think it becomes that when you come with your personal feelings, and then it becomes, okay, a way of where somebody feels embarrassed because I said that Valley was going to run the table. Now, coaching there, I feel like we have a good shot at a lot of W's that people may not think we have a shot at W's, but we have a fighter's chance, and that's all you want, right? Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying X, Y, and Z don't have a fighter's chance, but here's why I say that. Here's why we agree with this, And when you're coming into this space, man, you just got to understand, man, not everybody's going to agree with you, and not everybody's going to like what you talk about, and that's
They
fine.
shouldn't. They shouldn't do it. Right? Like, I mean, don't change your opinion, man, just to be liked. Like, I mean, as long as you and like don't be like you said, don't be disrespectful. And that's like I understand this point, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this, and I don't think the fans like all the fans like there are a select few that do get mad and take it personally when you pick against their team. But guys, like I don't think that's really true. Like maybe they'll disagree in the moment and they'll seem mad and they'll talk about how you don't know what you're talking about. But then a few times after you're right, they come to the show and they're like, "Hey, man, like I disagree with your opinion, but like I got your point." Because coach, you can't have a show for as long as we've had. Coach, is there a team in the chat that I've never picked against?
Nah, not to my knowledge.
And hey, guess what? And when we go to Alcorn, they show us love. We go to Jackson, they show us love. When we go to Grambling, they show us love. When we go to Alabama A&M, they show us love. Bama State, South Carolina State, Central, FAMU. Heck, we can go to anywhere in the FCS, and they show love. And this is me, and we've had this show since 2019. is when the first episode of the Blue Bloods dropped. From 2019 to 2026, Coach, how many games do you think me and Timothy have picked, and me and you have picked on here? And I've went on Scotty's show and picked, and I went on HBCU Nightly and picked. Man, like, the fans really don't get mad. The fans just want you to sound like you know what you're talking about, because at the end of the day, too, and BJ put out a great tweet. And I love what BJ does in the space too, man. I look at him as one of the guys that I look up to and want to be. But BJ put it the best way. It's like, find the analyst that has been right 100% of the time.
I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? We've been to 2 FCS national championship games together out in when it was in Frisco.
And one in Nashville this year.
Yeah, and the one in Nashville this year. And it's always great when those people see us, they recognize us, they call our names, shout out. I think most of them are hoping that we pick against them so that when their teams win, they can be like, hey, what up, man? Told you guys, whatever.
I love that. Do that. Listen, if I'm wrong on a pick, come in this chat and tell me I was wrong, man. And guess what? Me and Coach will be on here talking about my wrong picks. But also, too, I would like to see the data. I know no one keeps track like me because I'm just OCD about everything. And me and Timothy do keep track. I don't know if anyone else is near 80% on their week-to-week picks like me over the past 3 years. But that's just, I feel like we're at the top of our game, Coach. Myself, you, and Timothy, man, like, we're pretty accurate. Coach, we did what we did. Timothy is the data guy. You know that. We did 110, I think, over-unders last year across the FCS. 110 teams. We projected over-under win totals. Me and Timothy were both at like 60% on those. It's pretty good.
Money in the bank.
Dude, that's a lot of that's a lot of money in the bank. And I mean, so I'll say this, man. I'm excited for this season. We're gonna do like an official SWAC preview on this channel. Me and Timothy will have our own on audio. I think that's in like 2 or 3 weeks. We had to wait. Listen, I'll be honest with you guys. The reason we do SWAC and MEAC so late is because it's hard for us to get the rosters. I'm gonna be honest, and like me and Timothy, and I know Coach Fred's included in this, we don't like to speak on stuff without knowing all the data and the facts and stuff. And I don't want to just come on here and project players. Now that we start getting all the rosters, I think we're waiting on 1 MEAC roster to be sent to us, and we're waiting on 1 SWAC roster to be sent to us. And we'll be ready to go rolling with the preview on that. So, and we might even try to get Timothy on camera, man. It's hard with Timothy. I know a lot of people have asked me to bring him to YouTube. My dude lives in Nevada, and we record, like, when y'all listen to the audio versions, those are recorded at like 11:30 Central Time. I don't know how many of y'all are up on YouTube at 11:30 p.m., almost midnight on like Tuesday nights. I don't know if my guy Coach Fred has that bandwidth to be up that late talking about FCS football. So that's why we do audio, YouTube, stuff like that. And so that's why we've kind of split it up like that in terms of FCS content being audio-wise, this being kind of our HBCU-centered stuff. But, Coach, any last thing you want to talk about, man, before we run out of here, man, as we approach that 2-hour mark?
Yeah. What was I about to say? Yeah, I don't have that kind of bandwidth. I'm a coach, I'm a granddad, all that stuff, man. So, you know, once it gets to a certain point in the evening, man, it gets really tough, man. So
I don't know how Timothy does it with 3 kids, bro. That dude's a freak. Full-time job, writing, dude, that dude is like, I'm telling you, like, and I like to give flowers when they're due, Coach. Like, obviously, my guy Gerald writes for the site. He's going to be a superstar in the business, bro. Like, in terms of scouting, no one does it better than him.
He knows
everybody. But in terms of FCS media, obviously, you always hear the same names: myself, Craig Haley, Sam Herder, Kevin Marshall, right? Like, all the guys at FCS Fans Nation growing. I still think, man, like, if we're ranking FCS media and like you're looking for an FCS media member that is rising, bro, Timothy Rosario deserves to be a star, man. I can't speak enough about that kid's work ethic, bro, how smart he is about the game. Like, I'm telling you, Coach, and I will stand on the table for the people I rock with. I've stood up on the table for Scotty, Perry, BJ, Josh, you. Like, I stand up on the table for my guys. Timothy Rosario deserves more respect in the FCS space, bro. That dude is a top 2-3 FCS analyst in the country right now, man. And he is just getting started, bro.
And he knows his numbers. I'm talking about right down to, this is how impressive it is. If you haven't checked into Timothy, this is how impressive he is. he's done a study on every transfer that have left the conference and what they've done at their next stop. Like he has
Yeah.
numbers on that kind of stuff, right? Which
Yeah.
is insane. First of all,
Stupid.
who has that time? How do you find that time? And he has little kids, right? Like he don't have
Yeah.
big
Just
kids.
had one.
Yeah, he can't just go lock up for 5 hours and do this and not hear someone crying, yelling, screaming, or something, right? But he does that. So he's definitely that man. And
It's
every
my
time I
dog, man.
see him, he's on. Every time I see him, and we see each other once a year at the FCS National Championship, he's on point with everything. But the
That's
one
why.
thing I
That's
need you guys.
yeah. Go
What?
ahead. Go
No, no,
ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why I don't like lazy people in the space, bro. If you're gonna be in the media space, man, do your shit. Go ahead, coach.
And he does it. But before we get out of here, if you haven't already liked, subscribed, make sure you do that to this channel. We appreciate it. Again, we're approaching another season together. I need you to go over on YouTube, like and subscribe the Comment Man, because I need to get it up so that I
Yep.
can hire Zach to produce the show. As we're bringing, the Coach Terrell Buckley show, we'll get that started again as well. That's going to be more in depth. But we appreciate you guys, man, and I appreciate you, Zach. I can remember 2019,
21. Yeah. Yeah. That's like 2020, 2021.
somewhere in there, reaching out like, hey, man, I want to get into it. And you're like, you actually coach, man. How are you going to find the time? I was like, you tell me we're going to do it, and I'll figure it out. And we figured it out. We've done a lot of
Fact.
games. Done a lot of conferences and things like that. So I want to say, heading into this year, man, I appreciate you for bringing me in. It's been nothing but fun. I'm actually digging it to the point that, I can do this. We can
That's
figure
a
this
fact.
out. We're part of the media. We can figure this
Because
out. So
coaches ask me all the time how it happens. Like, because like, bro, there's no way. There's just no way I can get up there and talk about games like across the conference. It's like there's just no way. And like that one year, we were covering like the entire country together on here. Like they were like, bro, there's no way,
yeah,
zero chance.
yeah, it was kind of cool just to give people a backdrop. I mean, you give me the rundown. Uh, Boom, I got a chance on the bus, if it's a away game, to sit down and look at some numbers, actually go and look at the highlights or some other stuff like that from whatever games we're covering. And it's crazy because I was telling somebody on this new staff that I'm on that I knew Jared Verse before the country knew Jared Verse, when he was in 1AA football. And all of a sudden he goes up to Florida State and boom, here we are, this top 5 pick, and he's wrecking the NFL. That's an FCS kid that we knew about and was covering a long time ago before he even hit his stardom. So it's been cool, man, to kind of watch it, man.
That's a fact. And EA makes a good point. I think I only got to meet him once, Mr. Ware. I think it was like MEAC Media Day one year. Shout out to him, man. Like, yeah, Box to Road's been doing it for a minute, man.
I
Like,
got a Box to Road national championship, man.
there you
So
go.
I always rock with those guys, man.
I feel like I'm finally kind of getting my hours in, man. Like people ask, it was funny that there was someone saying that, do you wish you would have started covering like FCS HBCU sooner? And I'm like, I don't think you understand like how old I am. Like, I'm not even 30 yet. So like any
Which is insane.
older,
Which
yeah,
is
like
insane.
if I started covering the SWAC any earlier than I did, I would have been like 17, 18.
Hey D, man, I appreciate that. And then the thing that people don't
Yeah.
that they don't know about you, like, I mean, you should probably be like a nuclear physicist or something like that. Like,
No,
you have a here I am playing with a
oh God.
social work degree, and you have like somewhere you should be putting together a bomb or something,
No. That's why.
kind of thing. And here you are fooling with football. So football
Oh,
appreciates you. But yeah, man, we've seen a lot of talent, man, over the years, and this year will be no different. I don't think the names
no.
change, the game stays the
Bro,
same.
It's going to be such a fun, like I'm telling you, and obviously like old heads in the space are going to be like, man, this used to be like what it was in like the 90s or whatever. But man, this is going to be such an exciting season. Like I look across the SWAC and I do think the talent has increased. And, we had a good conversation on PV versus everybody. You can go check it out. If you haven't already seen it, if you're in the chat, but we talked about just kind of the trajectory of HBCU football in terms of player talent, coaching talent, competitiveness nationally, and I think it's going in the right direction. And man, I'm pumped for this season, Coach. I mean, week 0, I'll be at. And in case and we'll make our last announcements to get out of here. I'll at week 0. I'll actually be at 2 games week 0, Coach. Thursday night, I'll be in Pensacola for the West Florida's Division I debut. They're playing Southern Illinois, DJ Williams, Walter Payton finalists. I'm excited to see that game. So West Florida will be hosting Southern Illinois on Thursday night. I'm going to be there. Coach, I'm driving from Pensacola that night all the way back to Mobile, which isn't really that far. And I'm hopping on a flight the next day to fly to Tarleton or fly to Dallas and then drive to Tarleton because the president of Tarleton reached out and invited me to come up for the game. So I get the campus tour, get to watch up in the president's suite, get the full access and everything, man. So, like, man, they've reached out, and I'm pumped for it. I haven't been to a Tarleton game before, but I get to go see Tarleton State PV week 0 that Saturday, man. 9 p.m. kickoff, purple out. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm pumped. And so we'll have some – I'll obviously have highlights from the West Florida game. I don't know how much in-game content I'll get because I don't know where exactly I'll be in the stadium. I don't know if I'll be up in the suite, on the side. Yeah, so we'll see like what the content's like, but I am going to try to get some content of the campus tour, stuff like that, from Tarleton State, man. So I'm really, really excited, and then I'll plan my schedule out as we go. I don't like to plan too far. The one game that's already locked in, Alabama State Jackson, second to last bit. I don't care if I have to rent a plane and skydiving to get into the stadium.
Let's do it.
Your boy is going to be in Montgomery for that game. It already booked, planned, delivered. Like, we will be at Jackson, Bama State that second to last week of the season.
Let's do it. So week 0, of course, that Thursday night, I'll be down in Thibodeau.
Oh, y'all playing on Thursday night?
Yeah. So I'll be down in Thibodeau. That Friday, I'll be hosting a week 0 deal at Glory Bound in Hattiesburg, and then that Saturday I'll be hosting a deal at the Country Squire Cigar Lounge in Jackson.
Okay.
As far as the content, we'll have some games covered up, and I'm going to at all those events, I'll make sure that of course I'm doing the FCS football because that's what we do. The cigar part of it will be taken care of. Nice and easy vibes and kind of rolling there, man.
Have you been to Thibodeau before?
Yes. Now, I've only been there as far as dropping off kids. So we had a kid at Pearl River who qualified late, and we basically put him in a school van and took him to campus years ago. So that's
good Lord, bro. I'm so glad that you guys are playing on a Thursday night because the one game I've been to in Thibodeau was Nichols Sac State week 1 on a Thursday night. So like it's the exact same game y'all are playing. Coach, I swear to God, it is an experience if you haven't coached down there. Hey, listen, what are those towels that hold the water and keep you hydrated and like cool off? Buy like 10 of those, bro. 10. It is so like. You know me, bro. Like I don't really mind the heat. I'm from Mobile, bro. I watched the second half from that new facility they built. I've never know what, bro. It was so hot. And Coach, I drove from Mobile to Thibodeau for that game. I passed 2 dead alligators on the side of the road.
Oh man,
that's how deep. Bro, it's different down there. And they had those fires the year I went with Sac State, bro. So it was all like smoky too, and like muggy and hot. Oh yeah, it was. Woo. Thibodeau's different, bro. Thibodeau is different.
So I guess we'll see. Oh man, I appreciate it, bro. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how Nichols is this year. Who won? Sac State won. Yeah, Sac State won that game. It was actually a more competitive game than you would think the highlights are on the channel. You can go find it. It's under game highlights. I've recorded most of it. So we got the highlights up. Yeah, Thibodeau's different. But Coach, again, man, appreciate you. We'll be back next Saturday. I think, right, Coach? Next Saturday, we'll announce the topics. We'll be live 11:30-ish. This is going to be our time, man. We're going to be your lunch day special on Saturday. Get your weekend kicked off right. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, man. I think we did almost 4K, Coach, on our comeback video last week, man. So shout out to y'all, dog.
Great.
Listen, I think the number one spot in the space is open, personally. Our goal this year, Coach, number one podcast, number one YouTube channel in HBCU media. That's the goal, man. Let's get to it. Guys, we appreciate y'all. Hit the like button, subscribe. For myself, Coach Fred, FCS Football Central, the Blue Bloods, our sponsors over at FanDuel, man. We are out for right now.